Alright, so today I got a video here for you guys to show y'all how to connect the Proface PLC to a Fanuc robot. This should work with pretty much any robot, especially any of the newer robots. And we're going to do this communication over Ethernet. Now, I struggled with this for like quite some time, and part of it was because I was doing explicit messaging and not implicit messaging, and really the explicit messaging just wasn't working right. So I think that was something on like the Ethernet communication end that just wasn't set up, and there's not any good documentation out there. Fanuc has the best documentation as far as documentation that was actually useful to get this thing set up. Proface was pretty much useless. But I'm going to go ahead and just dive into this thing, and I'm going to take y'all to my screen right now. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is, after you open up your program and everything like that, you're going to want to go to your devices and PLC. So you click on your devices and PLC right here in this area, and it will open up this screen here. Now what you're going to go ahead and do is add a device. So with this adding a device, you're going to need to add a manufacturer. And the manufacturer we're going to use is ODVA. And basically ODVA is kind of like a generic Ethernet driver, very similar to like Allen Bradley's Ethernet driver if you've used Allen Bradley. Now, that's going to take us into the next step of this video. Sorry I'm going very fast, but I know there's going to be some skilled guys that already know what they're doing, already know what they're talking about, and they're not going to want to sit here and listen to a long video. So I plan on doing more of a recap that's going to be more longer and drawn out after I run through this real quick. But I just want to run through this so that way I'm able to show the guys that already have a general understanding of how to do this stuff, just have them be able to bang it out and get it done very quickly, because really this process is only going to take like 5 minutes. So we got to go to the internet real quick, that good old internet stuff. Just type in Proface ODVA in Google. I also will have a link down in the bottom below that'll take you directly where to download this ODVA. And so the long route is to click this, click on this ODVA right here, Ethernet IP explicit messaging driver. And this explicit messaging driver will have implicit messaging. We're going to go ahead and scroll down here to where the actual download is. You'll have to click here to download, and this is going to take you to this screen right here where you got to sign in and whatnot. I'm not going to worry about signing in because I've already got this ODVA installed. If I'm not mistaken, you don't need to do anything after you install it. So download it, install it, and then after that, you should be able to use it almost immediately. You might have to cycle power on your computer, but there's really not much. So if it doesn't work and it doesn't show up in this, I would definitely close your program out when you're doing this. Another thing, this ODVA only works with like the 4.08 version of this Proface. So it's the GP Pro EX, and I think it, like it says 4.08 or something like that, or 4.8. I had like the 4.0 version or whatever, and that won't work with ODVA, but it should do an auto update. You shouldn't have to pay for another version of this Proface. I'm trying to eliminate any issues with like maybe somebody struggling with a particular part of this video, because there's a lot of times I'll watch videos and like the video has been like really good, which there's not many good videos out there on automation stuff, so that's why I'm doing this. But they'll leave out that one little step that either I don't have it, or there's some type of reason why I can't do whatever they did on their end. So if you have any questions and there's not something in this video that is different from yours, I think I said that kind of jacked up, but point being is, if something's different from what I got, from what you got, put it down in the comments below, ask the question, and maybe I can get another video out. Also, I plan on doing more videos on a lot more like simplistic detail stuff, so that way people who are more novice, them rookies out there, can kind of get skilled, because with this Proface, this is the first project that I've ever done with Proface, and it was a pain in the ass to learn. Just gonna keep it real with you guys. Alright, so now I'm gonna jump into here. I had to actually delete my old ODVA because evidently you can only have one, which makes sense. And then I guess you just add multiple devices to that ODVA if you want to add more devices that you're going to communicate to over the Ethernet, or over the network, I should say. Actually, if you see right here, I used Modbus TCP on another device because literally just couldn't get the implicit messaging to work with that device, and I even contacted Banner, which was the safety controller that we was trying to talk to, and they essentially said, look, we can't do it over Ethernet. For some reason, they don't support it, so you got to use Modbus TCP, which is actually kind of more simple than Ethernet. I'm kind of almost leaning towards liking that more than Ethernet, just because the simplicity of it. Everything's like almost the same on every device. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to click Add Device or PLC. We're going to come over here and go to ODVA, Implicit Explicit Messaging, your only option, Ethernet TCP, and we're going to add it. Then here it will add your new device, and we're going to come down here to this little box. And when you click into this box, this is where you're going to give it its IP address. I'm just going to say 192. Not that, dude. Come on, man. 168. No, I'll just do 0 because I'm on a network right now and I don't want to crash the network, and I'll just give it a 10. No, I lied. I'll give it an 11. I'll give it a 110. I'll give it whatever it gets, okay? So we're not actually done here. So this is one of the things that I struggled with whenever I was doing this, is this enable implicit messaging. And I think part of my issue was I had implicit messaging enabled when I was trying to do explicit messaging, so I think that's why it did not work. But there's a lot of little things that are like, especially for like a rookie, they're not going to understand, and they were big hang-ups for me. So I kind of thought that this is what this was utilized for, but you have these different options. So you have a control word, a status word, scan count. So these USRs right here, if you don't know anything about Proface PLCs, USR is basically an internal memory register. And with that internal memory register, you can assign different stuff. So we're going to use 800 because that's what I used in my last project. But really, you should be able to assign pretty much anything. I remember reading some type of documentation that says, like, don't use, like, the first few words or something like that of memory. So just put it wherever. But, oh, shoot, we weren't done there. So I'm just going to assign it an 800. Now, whenever you go in your PLC logic, you're going to actually have to assign like a 801, I believe, as a bit address. And I should be able to take you guys through that. And that's what actually turns on this implicit messaging. So I don't know why it can't just be turned on from here, why it has to be turned on from the ladder logic. It really don't make any sense to me. You'd think checking that box would be enough, but whatever. You just got to do what they got to do. This is a lot of stuff that I think is antiquated in like the industrial industry. Like, it just makes no sense why that has to be a rung in the ladder logic. I guess if you wanted to be able to turn it off and on during parts of your logic, but I'd rather just have a checkbox here that tells me like either turn it on or turn it off, and it's going to be on or off all the time. So then we're going to the implicit messaging screen. Now in here, I'll be honest, I don't know what these numbers are at the moment, but I went ahead and I did a screenshot of the numbers that I got for that. Basically your size, this is actually very similar to what you would set up in Allen Bradley's generic Ethernet IP module. So I'm just going to give both of these a 32 because I believe that's what I was talking to my robot. Now, this number, if I'm not mistaken, you could potentially get this wrong and not have issues, but that kind of depends. I can't remember which one it is, but one side or the other, if one's bigger than the other, it can cause issues, and it depends on devices. Some devices can internally handle it, some devices cannot internally handle it, and will kind of like fault out and give you Ethernet IP errors and whatnot. So I'm just going to give it 3232, leave the bottom one here a 0. So that's your input and your output. Notice the size is 8 bits. I believe the robot is 16 bits, so you got to be sure to double that on the other side. Now your assembly instance is 101 and 151, which I'm very familiar with because of the setting up these robots in Allen Bradley. That's something that we do quite frequently, is setting up robots, the Fanuc Robot, and being able to talk to it over Ethernet. But generally we do this in Allen Bradley. So whenever I initially done this, this is the part that I got set up to, and I did not assign an address right here, and this is why it did not work for me. Because I just didn't know that I needed to assign that. It crossed my mind, and I started going down this path one day, and then I just abandoned it and didn't come back for like a week later. Now, given I wasn't working on this for an entire week, I had other things going on. But point being is, I was like right there to almost getting this thing complete, and then I didn't because, well, I abandoned it. So if I'm not mistaken, this here needs to be assigned to just whatever various numbers that you want to assign this to in the internal memory. So we used 500 and 600. Remember, this USR is the internal memory of the controller. And these are in words. So these addresses are in words. And then in the symbol list, you call these out by bit level. And then we just use 700 for this. Now the configuration I don't believe you use for anything. With Allen Bradley, like auto generates this, and see that's one thing I don't like about this Proface PLC is it does not auto generate any of this in the tag database the way it does in Allen Bradley whenever you use like a generic Ethernet module. So I believe at this point we're okay. We'll just hit OK. I'm gonna go back, verify that everything looks all right. Looks good. We're gonna hit OK. Now just kind of ignore the current IP address I got in here because I don't know what I did on the robot side of things. Now here in a second I'll go back into the symbols list, which is up here, and I'll show you all how to create an address. But just in case somebody already knows how to create an address in Proface, I'm not going to worry about going into that. But that was also a struggle with me because I couldn't really figure out how to get an address. So now we're going over to RoboGuide, which is Fanuc software for being able to have like a virtual robot in here. Now the reason why I'm using this virtual robot is just so that I can be in like a clean environment, so I can be in a quiet environment, so I can shoot this video at the best quality I can. I almost wanted to do this like on the actual robot, but it also made it a lot easier to do the screen recording part as well, so that way I'm not just recording like the teach pendant with a camera and just having like garbage video, because that's how 90% of all Fanuc videos are, is somebody just holding the camera and doing the teach pendant while they're trying to shoot this video. Plus it's always loud and you can't hardly ever hear anything, and it's already loud where you're working at because you're probably out on the floor in a factory or something working doing this. So here we are at like basically the main screen, but it don't matter what screen you're on. You should be able to just hit menu, go to setup, host communication. Right here is what we're going to select. So now we're at TCP IP, that's what you're wanting. And then here you're going to give the robot an address, which is, I'll just give it like 192.168.10.100. Now, like I said, don't really worry about my IP addresses. Sometimes in this router area, I will throw in a number. I don't know if it needs one or not, but sometimes I like to just do this because I've noticed some devices are really particular about this. What are you doing, dude? 111. Give me 111. Alright. But I just put this on the same Ethernet network, basically. From this screen here, I believe this is all you need to do. Now, I'm not going to be able to really set this up for you guys. Notice the port 1 thing, that does matter. I believe that's your top port on your Fanuc controller. So, yeah, just pay attention to this port 1, port 2. That's kind of important. You can ping it from here, which is really useful. Funny thing is, I talked to a Fanuc guy, and he was like, yeah, ping's the useless. And I'm like, what? What, dude? Whatever you say, dude. So, now we're going to go to menu screen again. We're going to go down to I/O, Ethernet IP. Boom. So, now we're going to hit this configure button down here. And here's where you're talking how many words you're talking. Why can't I configure this? It's read-only, dude. Oh, man, dude. It's because we're enabled. So you got to take this, turn it false. And it's really funny. There's like all kinds of little stuff. Like somebody not showing that one little part of setting that false could be the difference of somebody being able to figure this out or not. Oh, and another big thing. So if you do not see this Ethernet IP in this I/O list, so when I do menu 5 I/O and I go to type, when you hit your type, if you don't see Ethernet IP in here, you do not have the Ethernet IP adapter option, which is the minimum of what you need. You could get the scanner option, the Ethernet IP scanner option, which gives you the adapter and the scanner. But all you need for what we're doing here is the adapter option. So make sure you have that installed on your Fanuc robot. That's going to be a Fanuc option. I'm sure you've probably heard of those. They like to sell those a lot. So now that we have it installed, which I'm not showing installing that, maybe that'll be another video that I do for you guys. So hit that cellular button. So and if you have any questions of like different Fanuc questions or just overall any industrial automation questions, put them down in the comments below to give me good ideas for videos to make. And I've just really wanted to create this channel to be able to answer people's questions that and like whenever I struggle with something or something I take for granted that may have been like a huge learning curve that took 2 hours to find this one button. I want to be able to show that to the world so that way they're able to figure this thing out. So now that we set the adapter to false, which basically turns it off, now we can go into the configuration and we can tell it like what I said, what's 13 on the other one, so it's 16 here, I believe is what it should be. Now I could be wrong with this, but that's just because I get backwards on this thing. Changes will take effect at power up. So we're gonna need to do a function, or you can hit the switch, and then we're gonna go over here to 8 cycle power. I probably should be using this way so you can see me. I should be using this thing right here so that way y'all can see me moving around a little bit easier. Oh well, is what it is. We're just in cycle power on this thing. It's gonna do its thing. Reboot on us. All right, now that the robot is booted back up, we're gonna go back into menu, I/O. And then I believe we just need to go to digital I/O. So in your digital I/O, these are the outputs, configure. Now I'm not really sure if I should make this another video or not, but just the quick of it is you're gonna use rack 89, slot 1, and then your start point will be wherever you want it to be, pretty much. Being this Ethernet IP, it doesn't really matter. I think generally we always assign our UOPs to be like the first word of information, just because UOPs never change. They're always the same, whereas your digital inputs and outputs might change on a project. So yeah, you just want to do rack 89, slot 1. Why is it telling me I don't like it? So it says it's pending. We're going to go ahead and cycle the power on the controller again, because that's what you always got to do. You got to cycle the power on the controller every time you make like one of these Ethernet IP changes, any safety changes or anything like that, to like DCS or whatnot. Okay, now we're gonna go back into menu, and I'm kind of just showing you guys how to go about doing this. I'm a clicker. I like to click around a lot, whether I'm going there or not. I click on the wrong things all the time. So here we are in our D outs. Okay, we got stars here, which means something isn't configured right. Oh, that's because I assigned this. Okay, that's why. So like I can do one to, let me just do, notice that we're active here. I'm actually going to do something else real quick. I'm going to show you, kind of getting off topic of this video. Really this needs to be another video on how to set up this, the Ethernet IP to the robot. Mainly because, why is it making me assign it to 1? Alright, so we got this Ethernet IP. I'm going to go ahead and boot the controller again just because I want to show you how it should look whenever you're done with that. I'll do another video on how to actually go in more in depth on how to set up the Fanuc I/O. So make sure you're staying tuned. If you have that question, just maybe look on the channel. I'm going to try to categorize things in a playlist. So if you go to the YouTube channel, go to playlist. I'll have stuff that's like Fanuc oriented. I'll have stuff that's different PLC oriented, communications, and I'll break all that stuff down. So I don't have that video out yet, but I will go into detail on more how to do the how to like set up I/O and how to go into like more steps, so that way I can keep videos more targeted towards what we're doing. And I'm actually stretching this out way longer than what I wanted to. So go back to I/O. You can actually click this I/O button down here too, and then just go type. Back to the digitals. Status offline. Oh, that's offline because I forgot to turn the. This is good stuff to see. I mean, it was a mistake that I made. But notice that they're assigned now. They're not the stars here anymore. And the mistake that I made is we need to go back to type. We need to go over here to Ethernet IP because I forgot to turn on the... I forgot to turn that back on. So now we should be able to go back into I/O and click the I/O button down here. Boom. Now we have statuses of these. There's a way actually to do this virtual robot to actually communicate to things out on the network. So if you wanted to test like communication stuff, I'm just not quite sure on how to do it, or if there's really anything that needs to be done. I mean, because this thing essentially is a robot in the computer. It's just a virtual machine basically. So this kind of concludes really all that you need to do on the Fanuc side. There's really only a couple things that need to be done on the Fanuc side of things. So now we're going to go back into the Proface software, and I'm going to show you guys the addresses now. Here, we've actually got quite a bit of stuff already created. here. And so all these internals that you're looking at, remember when I assigned these to like the 600s? So here's where it's addressed at like 603. So we're talking to what, the fourth word in the robot. So that would be like group input 4 that we're talking to. And that's just because how I have on this particular project, that's how I have it assigned, is that I did all my group inputs first, I believe. Maybe not, I don't know. But here's where we're calling this out as a bit level. So notice it added 2 more digits to the back side of this word address. So whenever you click, and so I'll just show right here actually. You can click into here and you can change whether this is a bit address, word address, whatever. And that just gives you the ability to plug in more numbers back here. Here's kind of the wizard behind it. This is there's not really much that guides you in the right direction. So unless you know what you're doing, you're kind of screwed as far as like how to address this thing. And you know, super experienced guys are able to figure this out quickly, but with the generation that I'm more so in, especially the newer guys coming into this thing, they're so used to like wizard-based stuff and like just being able to, plug in a number here, plug in a number here, and like then we just go find what that number is and then we can plug it in. But this is like you just gotta kind of know where you're communicating to. I don't have any examples on this project anymore where I was talking explicit messaging, but you assign this to the internal memory. So basically the Ethernet jumps out and captures everything that the robot is currently and writes to the robot, but there's like a buffer in between the actual PLC's logic, like its ladder logic, and the actual communications other than the driver. So like the driver is talking to these internal registers right here, and then the PLC communicates between these internal registers. So it's like a buffer. There's not like a direct correlation where you talk. Whereas when you're using explicit messaging, that's going to be the big difference between implicit and explicit. Explicit messaging talks directly to it. There is no in between. Essentially, your ladder logic is almost your driver in a sense, or at least to some layer of that. Hopefully I didn't leave anything out in this video. Make sure to put it down in the comments below. And then after you create these variables here, you can give them whatever name you want. So yeah, that kind of takes this video here to an end. Just remember with this word address thing and this bit address thing that it's going to give you and take away those extra digits at the end, whether you're talking to like a group input where you need to use a word address, or whether you're talking to an actual bit like a digital input and you need to talk to it as a bit address. So guys, hopefully this video is useful for you guys, and make sure to hit that subular button, and in the comments below let me know if this video is helpful. Let me know if there's anything I left out, and also if you guys have any other questions. I don't know if there's anything else in particular that I really need to recap on, but because I stretched this video out way longer than what I wanted to. I wanted this to be a very quick video, and now it's not a very quick video. So like I said guys, hopefully it was super useful for you guys. Hopefully you got your system set up, and if you didn't, well, let me know. Let me know why you can't get it set up, guys. Catch y'all on the next one.
Tonight, losing myself, I'm losing myself tonight. With your love, with your love, I'm losing myself, losing myself.